Okay, y'all. So I'm gonna go through this here quick, fast, and in a hurry, okay? So this was the Lawnmower Man, and like I said, it's artificial intelligence, it's the ghost in the machine concept, it is um all these type of themes, okay? So um it's a 1992 science fiction horror film directed by Brett Leonard, written by Leonard and Gamel Everett, and starring Jeff Fahey as Job Smith. An intellectually disabled gardener, and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Lawrence Larry Angelo, a scientist who decides to experiment on him in an effort to give him greater intelligence. The experiments give Job superhuman abilities, but also increase his aggression, turning him into a man obsessed with evolving into a digital being. So, this is a human wanting to evolve, right? If you've seen the movie, you know what it is that I'm talking about. I want to just make a note because I did several videos. Okay, so first one was Google, second one was Friends, third one was Rain, and now this is the fourth one, and this is the Lawnmower Man. Lawnmower Man. Okay, all right, and I think those are the only ones that I did. Okay, so um, the film is adapted from the merging of a 1975 short story by Stephen King with an original screenplay entitled Cyber God. Now remember, this is 1992. If you saw my last video, I mentioned to you that the web did not roll out until 1995. So this is 3 years before. Now remember, at this time, we had email. It was AOL. You've got mail. So if you saw Sleepless in Seattle, when it comes on the screen, you've got mail. That's how they were communicating with each other. We had email, but we did not have the internet as we know of it. So Google didn't exist. Google didn't come out until 1998, which was 3 years after the internet, and it was mostly in like Washington, the Pacific Northwest. We used AOL, and I forget the other one that we use. I want to say Internet Explorer, but it was called something else back then. I can't remember what it was. If you know what it was, tell me down in the comments, okay? But Bing didn't exist. Google didn't exist. Um, AOL did. I remember Lycos, Yahoo. We used Yahoo. And yeah, it was a Yahoo kind of world. And we had email. We had, this was before Hotmail. Everyone had AOL. We used to get floppy disks in the mail to put into our disk drive, into our computers that were desktops. We used to have floppies, and they were square. They were square. And they had like a little circle in it and a little roadway that you would feed it into that thing. You would hit the button and it would pop, slide out. And no, no, no. This was even before that. This was this compartment in your desktop that you would feed the floppy into, and the computer would read the floppy, and that's how you would be able to take the software that was on the floppy and install it into your computer. And sometimes the installation took hours. A lot of times we would do it at the end of business. An update, they would send us a floppy, we would put it into the computer, and we would let it install overnight. So we come to the office the next morning and it would say, uh, installation is complete, or that it's still running and it's so many percentages complete. That's the way that it was, honey. And that was before we actually had the little round uh, disc. That was later, and usually that was media. So we had music, movies, like we had the DVDs and, before Blu-ray and all of that. Before we had that, we had VHS tapes, which you could not run on a computer. Child, it's ancient history. Anyway, let's get back to the Lawnmower Man. Okay, so Cyber God. Okay, we've kind of brought the word cyber back, cyber security, um, which people talk about a lot now. But this is what Stephen King wrote in 1975. 1975, Stephen King wrote a short story, an original screenplay entitled Cyber God. Okay? I'll keep these numbers in mind. Oh my God. Try to get the significance. Try to understand that Stephen King wrote Cyber God in 1975, and the internet, the cyber world, did not actually happen until 20 years later in 1995. Try to understand. Okay. And in 1995, I did not have my Nokia cell phone. I got my Nokia, it was Primeco, the Nokia phone, which was a little alien, the hot pink alien. He lost his cell phone and we stole his technology. That's the way that's the cell phone that I had. And at that time, Joseph was old enough to be cooking his own spaghetti. I remember having that cell phone and coming home, and Joseph was cooking spaghetti. And I remember using that phone to talk to a certain person who was asking me to meet him at the door in a teddy. And if you don't know what a teddy is, Google it. I'm gonna go move on. So I gotta get through this here, okay? So 1975, Stephen King had that terminology, cyber God, while King's story focused on the titular character, a rotund, animal like Pan worshiper. And if you know who Pan is, if you don't know who Pan is, Google that too. Okay. Uh, a rotund, animal like Pan worshiper who strips naked and eats the newly cut grass like a goat, because Pan is a goat, he have hooves. Uh, Newly cut grass like a goat while controlling his lawnmower with mystical powers. I just got a notification somewhere. Okay, hold on. Okay, that's Caitlin. I can't be bothered. Eileen. Okay. So, let me get back to it. So, Stephen King has got this fool eating grass. The lawnmower man was a slow guy who would cut people's lawns. And some kind of a way, I remember that he got into a younger kid's computer and just went nuts. Okay, just crazy with power. His voice changed. It was horrific. It was horrific. If you haven't seen The Lawnmower Man, the first iteration, please watch it. It's crazy. Um, so this one with Stephen King is also crazy. Sounds like I never read this short story, but uh, this fool is out here eating grass like a bull, like Nebuchadnezzar. Um, while controlling his lawnmower with mystical powers, which was the power. If he's grazing grass, then why does he even need a lawnmower? That's crazy. So it says, The film has the same character controlling the lawnmower by means of the untapped potential of the human brain, which has been stimulated by advanced but unethical scientific experimentation. In both versions, the character initially presented as an unthreatening worker turns into a menace once his powers are manifested. And that's what I remember. He went from being this nice, slow guy to a maniac, a complete maniac with incredible power. Okay? Uh, Remind you of anybody? If it does, put a two down in the comments. We not gonna call their name, okay? So it says, uh, in the film, this change in the man going from mild mannered and slow to becoming a maniac, a powerful maniac, is a result of the stimulation of the brain by drugs beyond the titular character's capacity for human goodness. Because of the deviation from his story, King successfully sued to have his name removed from the film. Okay. So originally they had this film. It's based on Stephen King's story, but they changed it so much until Stephen King didn't want his name on it. I'm sure that this character that they made freaked even Stephen King out. It's a very freaky guy. If you get a chance to check it out, please check it out. Um, and maybe you'll be able to understand why Stephen King did not want his name on this production. Okay. Um, and he was successful. It says, because of the deviation from his story, King successfully sued to have his name removed from the film, which was originally titled Stephen King's The Lawnmower Man. Okay. He won further damages when his name was included in the title of the home video release. A sequel, Lawnmower Man 2 Beyond Cyberspace, was released in 1996 with Austin O'Brien as the only returning actor from the original film. I'm telling you, this film was crazy. It was crazy. Like I said, you should check it out. You should check it out. How they even was able to make this, it was just freaky. So it says, the production. The plot of Stephen King's 1975 short story, The Lawnmower Man, concerns Harold Parkett, who hires Pastoral Greenery and Outdoor Services Incorporated to cut his lawn. Parkett later spies on the serviceman, discovering his lawnmower mows the lawn by itself while he crawls after it. Stephen, that's just stupid and a little freaky, okay? While he crawls after it naked, eating the grass. This is so Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar probably was naked because God had struck him because of his arrogance and he had been warned. And his nails grew long and he was eating grass of the field like the beast and all that. And I bet he was naked. So I bet you that's what Stephen probably had in mind when he wrote this short story, that this was his take on Nebuchadnezzar, just moved to the 70s. But Nebuchadnezzar did not have a lawnmower. Number two, he did not have paranormal abilities that we know of. Okay, I would remember that. There is paranormal activity in the Bible, um, as well as a lot of stuff. I'm gonna say it like that. If you haven't read it, I ain't no point in me telling you about it. But anyway, the serviceman is actually a satyr who worships the Greek god Pan. When Parquet tries to call the police, the Moor and his owner ritually kill him as a sacrifice to Pan. Okay. And there's a lot of that going on in the Bible. You should know that, okay? The film's original script, written by director Brett Leonard and producer Gimel Everett, was written between May and August 1990 under the title The Lawnmower Man and carried minor elements of King's original story, including the scene where Job kills Peter's father with a lawnmower, Big Red, and the aftermath, in which the police state that they found some of his remains in the bird bath. The addition of a government agency known as the Shop was drawn from separate works of King's, such as Firestarter. If you have you read that one? That's a good one. Now that's a good one. I did read that. And the Tommy Knockers. That's another good one. Uh, Firestarter was published in 1980. The Tommy Knockers in 1987. He wrote so many good stories. Okay, so anyway, Leonard stated that the main inspiration for placing the story in virtual reality was seeing Jaron Lanier and his VPL research technology at a San Francisco event called Cyberthon. Brosnan later suggested using some Lanier's lines in the film, and both VPL's data suit and iPhone. It's not iPhone with the letter I and then phone. It's actually EYE phone. But there it is. iPhone appear in the film as props. Y'all, I can't listen. It's just there. It's just there. If you get it, put a number 3 down in the comments below if you get what's all right. If you haven't watched the movie, please watch the movie. Okay. And then come back and watch this video, all right? So anyway, the film has several elements in common with the 1959 Daniel Keyes novel Flowers for Algernon, which also deals with a mentally disabled man whose intelligence is technologically boosted to genius levels. A similar parallel can be drawn with the Star Trek television series' second pilot episode of 1966 titled Where No Man Has Gone Before. The computer generated imagery, CGI, was created for the film by Angel Studios. The supervising sound editor was Frank Serafin, who was hired as a result of his sound creation work in the 1982 film Tron. Those who are gamers, all this, I know you guys are getting it. I know that you guys are getting it, okay? Fuji Creatives Masao Takayama is also credited as a co-producer. And I'm gonna leave it at that, y'all. Put a 3 down below if you get it. If you don't get it, please do your research and however you can, watch The Lawnmower Man. Refer back to my videos to give you a little bit of historical, give you the environment in which this stuff was produced and released. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say about any of that, okay? I'm out.